This is going to be a very difficult video for me to create because I don't speak Sanskrit or Hindi and you guys don't speak Hebrew, but let's try. Shalom and Namaste everyone. Today I want to talk about the two ancient languages that managed to preserve itself until being spoken, some spoken in like modern day. I'm talking about Hebrew and Sanskrit. On one hand, we have Hebrew that kinda came back to life after we've been forced to leave our land and we've been forced to not use that language. And on the other hand, we have Sanskrit, the holy language of India, that is still the main language being used in more religious rituals. Recently, I have been learning more about how those two ancient languages actually managed to be preserved until modern day. So let's just learn a little bit together. So let's start with the Hebrew language. Hebrew was a language that was spoken back in the day in the Holy Land of Israel when we used to be a kingdom, when we were developing as a nation in modern day Israel. After the destruction of our second temple in Israel, and it was around the year 70, and then we've been forced to leave our land. We also been forced to not speak our language in order to not unite us. People managed to preserve Hebrew through words like languages like Ladino and Yiddish, which is a mix of the Hebrew and the local language that was spoken in the area. However, Hebrew was mostly in prayers and history books and religious books. Back in the day, then in this area where some people managed to stay, it was people mostly spoke Aramaic, which is another Semitic language, but a different one. But around 100 years ago, there was a person named Eliezer ben Yehuda, and he decided that the Hebrew needs to go back to be the main language we are speaking. And he did it all by himself, and right now, in modern day Israel, Hebrew is one of the official languages that are spoken in here. Think about it as taking Sanskrit and making it public again, making sure that children are growing up knowing only that language and speaking only that language, and slowly the entire nation is only speaking Sanskrit. And while we're talking about Sanskrit in India, Sanskrit is one of the most ancient languages in the world. It's a language of holy scriptures like the Vedas, but today is not a spoken language. People are not going to the store and talking Sanskrit among themselves. However, Sanskrit is very, very present if you want to talk about meditation, philosophy, yoga, and all the other amazing things that are also written in the Vedas. Now, in India, there are a lot of efforts to preserve the Sanskrit. There are schools that teaching that language, online class, even writing competitions that I heard of, and talking in Sanskrit. So it is different than how Israel managed to bring back its language. However, in India, they preserve Sanskrit through mostly through learning. Now, Hebrew and Sanskrit are very ancient language, and as you guys know, the world has been developed and evolved for the last 50, 100, 1,000 years. What are we going to do if there's new things, for example, a cell phone that was not existed back in the day where Hebrew and Sanskrit were spoken? So in Hebrew, in Israel, we're actually inventing like a new words that are heavily based on the ancient Hebrew. Take for example the word chashmal, which means electricity. Now back in the day when Hebrew was the spoken language in here, they didn't use the word chashmal just because the simple fact that electricity was not invented yet. So what did we do? How did we manage to create a new word? We just looked at our Torah and we saw that in the book of Ezekiel, I think its name is English, he's describing this light that he's cannot really explain, like a mysterious bang, a mysterious light. And then he called this light chashmal. We just took that word and said, okay, that's kind of sounds familiar. Chashmal, light, boom. And then we created the word for electricity, chashmal, that is heavily based on our old and ancient scriptures. Now also in Sanskrit, they are matching ancient words to the new era. Now I'm not going to say words in Sanskrit, I'm just gonna show you guys right here because I'm sorry, I'm not gonna disrespect your language or butcher your language. That is really not the point of this video. So for example, let's take the word smartphone, okay? In Sanskrit, this is how it looks like. It's kind of mean like a computer, because those devices are like baby small computers for like everything. And if we're talking about smartphones, the word for phone, like telephone, is this, which literally means distant voice. Just like telephone, it allows us to talk to people who are far away. Now, why do we even want to preserve those languages? This is more than a language. This is entire culture, a live history that is in every single word. In Israel, the Hebrew language is like a symbol to us coming back home and being able to practice what we used to practice and go back to who we really are. And inside of India, because of Sanskrit, Sanskrit is actually preserving a lot of philosophy, meditation, spiritual connection. Like there's a lot of holiness inside of that language. So at the end of the day, Hebrew and Sanskrit proven that we can take old languages and preserve them and make them important also in the modern world. Every language with its own unique way. Hebrew is uniting us again as a nation and as people, and Sanskrit is bringing back the ideas of philosophy, meditation, like all the spiritual world that is also existing in Hebrew. So next time you speak in Hebrew or Sanskrit, just remember we have a lot to learn from our past. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please write down in the comments what do you think about this subject. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. It's actually helping me reach out to more people. I really try to educate people about my culture and to learn about your culture. And yeah, I'll see you next video. Bye everyone.